Hey guys, I'm Adam Fennig with Fennig Equipment. You're tuned into the Talking Shed. Today we're at the end of March. Today's Good Friday and creeping up on Easter, so getting ready for a longer weekend. But before we go, I wanted to talk to you guys about planter maintenance here for spring. We've talked a lot about it here this winter, but I really wanted to, we've got this customer's planter at the shop, and I really wanted to dive in here and show you guys what we're talking about and give you guys some good tips and pointers on what would be some quick things for you to look at here this spring before you go to the field. Not everyone's going to make big changes on their planter, but just by taking off this gauge wheel and assessing a few things, you can get a really good feeling on where your planter's at and what you may need to do. I want to start off here at the front. You know, we talked a lot about maybe removing that no-till coulter. And these row cleaners are just fine, but unfortunately they're rigid row cleaners, and so is that no-till coulter. It's mounted directly to this frame unit, and so I've got this jack attached here, and so as this jack moves up and down, so does your row unit. So this jack would act as debris in the field or rough and lower spots. What I want you to focus on is back here, your seed depth is going to change as debris, rocks, sticks, harder soil dig into this no-till coulter or this row cleaner. The difference, and we'll show you here in a second, is over there on the floating row cleaners. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. From there we go to the disc openers. I ran the simple business card test. You want to see 2 inches down here at about 5 o'clock, and you get that either by brand new disc openers or by having those correctly shimmed. In this case, these measure about 14 1/4. Our distance here is 2 1/2. So he could either get away with it by shimming them out, or the correct way to do it would just be to replace these disc openers, get some fresh blades, because these do, however, dictate the depth of your seed. So I would highly suggest getting fresh paint on those every year. We move back to the closing wheels, and I've got the Yetter Poly Spike closing wheels mounted on here. And I've had a lot of questions about these and how they mount, and I just really wanted to dig into that. Everyone wants to know the spacing, and that spacing is taken from the inside of one spike to the inside of the other, down here at the very bottom. And that measurement needs to be 1.25 inches, okay? On our longer spikes, the cast spikes, that measurement's closer to 2 1/2, 2 3/4, because those spikes are longer. These new poly spikes allow us to really set these right on top of that furrow. It gets a really good closing action by being closer to the center there. So these Yetter Poly spikes, they do have lefts and rights. You can look at the red dot, and then there is an arrow for rotation. The next question we get is, what hole should we put them in? Front, back? Should they both be in the back? You know, I've got guys doing them both ways. I've got these mounted here, both in the back. But I have had guys talk about staggering them. And the benefits they see from that is that the front wheel can push some dirt over center, and so can the back wheel. So the dirt will kind of flow through there like a river. You know, I think it's personal preference, to be honest. So these are set in the back wheel. From there, we have a lot of questions about, well, where do I set my pressure? You know, these are lighter wheels than the cast that you're used to. I tell guys, let's start in that first wheel, or that first notch, and let's make a couple rounds, stop the planter, and get out and see what we're doing. If this first notch is enough to close the slot, let's stay there. If we need to go to the next one, we can, but I don't like going past that, because all this pressure that we're putting down on this seed, that plant has to fight its way back through there. So let's try to close the slot with as little down pressure as possible. Real quick, one thing I didn't mention was this is a rebounder seed firmer. This particular one is wore out, but a lot of guys run the Keatons. that's just something to check. I mean, that's pretty important. It does come in direct contact with that seed, so you will not want to be running it worn out. Real quick, I want to go over here to the other side and show you what I mean and show you the difference of running a floating row cleaner. So over there, I showed you with the jack how that one was mounted rigid. This particular one is actually floating. So you can see as this row cleaner moves, your row unit and then your seed tube does not move. So this will allow for consistent depth. You can move your trash, move your rocks, any residue out of the way without hindering the depth or placement of your seed. Whereas over there, anything that hits that holder or that row cleaner is really going to jar that unit. So I would highly suggest removing the no-till holder and putting on a floating row cleaner. That's going to maximize your seed depth and placement, and you'll have a much smoother ride across your plant. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. Hopefully these are a few quick tips that you guys can look at. You can just tear apart one row unit. That'll give you a good feel. But again, if there are a few things that you feel like you should change, I would change them, because everything starts here. Put that seed in the ground where you need it, get that slot closed so we can get all those plants emerged within that 24-hour window of each other. That way they're all fighting together throughout the season. So that's what we've got today. Thanks for tuning in.